The UK is due to ban advertising based on gender stereotypes from next year. An official from the Advertising Standards Authority gave some examples of the kind of campaigns that are deemed offensive.
An ad that depicts family members creating a mess while a woman has sole responsibility for cleaning it up. Or an ad that implies a specific activity is inappropriate for boys because it's usually associated with girls, or vice versa. Or an ad that depicts a man trying and failing to undertake simple parental or household tasks. It's our role as the ad regulator to ensure that advertising doesn't mislead, harm or offend.
A key argument behind the new rules is that gender stereotypes in commercials can influence the way children grow up. However, so far the regulations have only been outlined and a more specific set of guidelines has yet to be drawn up. Well, I'm very happy to say, to discuss this story, I'm now joined by Toni Bugle, founder of Mothers Against Radical Islam and Sharia, and also British comedian and political activist Kate Smurthwaithe. You're both very welcome to the programme. Toni, can we begin with you? Are these rules necessary? Some will say they are, that in terms of the examples of for children, maybe it is time for more girls to be scientists and engineers, and TV ads are seen by millions of people, and if it goes a little way towards maybe giving girls a chance to think about other opportunities, maybe it is not a bad idea.
Girls are scientists. I kind of don't get how people can say, oh, well, maybe we ought to try and encourage it. I don't see what's wrong with a child that is drawn to... I mean, it's a predisposition, whether we like it or not, that children are often drawn to toys that are their preferentials, which are boys go to boys' toys, girls go to girls' toys. It's just the way it is. But I don't think banning adverts is going to create the next scientist. I think that if you want to create scientists, they have an education at school to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that the whole... I remember an advert with Nicholas Lyndhurst, when Nicholas Lyndhurst played the part of all the characters, male and female. Cleaning, cooking, tidying up, playing with the children, building the train set. I don't remember anybody being offended at all. It certainly didn't offend me, and I remember watching it growing up as a kid.
Kate, is this really the responsibility of regulators to make such decisions? You know, if a company is using outdated stereotypes to promote a product, surely that will turn off consumers and will fail on the market. Why does the state have to get involved with all this?
Well, it's not really a question of what message consumers are picking up. It's really a question of what message wider society is picking up. You know, advertisers are obviously influencing us. If advertisements didn't influence us, they wouldn't bother putting them out. But the fact is, you watch those adverts and you think, I want to drink that fizzy drink, I want to drive in that car, I want to own those toys, those pieces of home equipment, that furniture. Advertisers are there to influence us. And all we're saying, really, is that we know young people are hugely influenced by what they see. And, you know, I'm sorry, Tony, but the scientific evidence does show that young children actually don't have a particular preference. You know, boys don't go for trains, girls don't go for dolls. Those ideas that girls are, you know, should have dolls and boys should have trains are picked up by children from the environment in which they're raised.
Suggests different. Research suggests different.
No, it just doesn't, Tony. There's a book by... There's a book by...
Yes.
There's a book...
Shouting over the top of me won't make any difference. Research does suggest differently. It does.
There's a book...
And whether you like it or not, I think the fact is you're offended over an advert.
I haven't said I was offended at all.
Is for school.
I haven't used that word, and I'm not offended.
Let parents...
But if I might finish...
What's the issue? So what's the issue?
Hold on a minute.
But it won't make a lot of sense. It'll be a load of old rubbish.
The issue is, first of all, there's a book by Cordelia Fine called Delusions of Gender, and it goes through all of the scientific evidence. It looks at where these ideas are getting it. It looks at cultures where there are different influences on children. And guess what it says? It says that young children are picking these things up much more from the environment than from something innate and magical within them. That actually we need to give young children the broadest range of possible ideas for them. And nobody is offended by seeing a woman working hard in the household.
Maybe we just need to let children
Might I just finish?
Children.
But that's exactly my point. We do need to let children be children, and we need to stop sending them these messages that push them down individual routes. The point is that we should show adults doing a huge range of different activities, men and women, so that young children know they can choose whatever they want, and then they make that choice freely, rather than feeling like there's pressure on them to do certain things. Well, you may feel that they do, but if they already do, then why do these sexist adverts exist out there? Getting rid of these is enormously useful, not just for women, because it sends out this message.
What's sexist about it?
Well, if it's seen as normal and standard for the rest of the family to make a mess, and the woman, and only the woman, to be expected to tidy up, then that is sexist, isn't it? Of course it is. And by the same token, if every time we see a man trying to change a nappy or clean up, he's incompetent at it, that sends out a really nasty message about men that's not true, and it's not fair on those guys.
OK, Tony, before you get to that point, you can bring it in with this point as well. Sweden, for instance, has rejected, this is to Tony, Sweden has rejected a proposal for a ban on gender stereotypes in advertisements, saying it would harm freedom of expression and the free press. Do they have a point?
Well, the thing is actually that it's not about free expression. Advertisers are enormously regulated already.
Tony, go ahead.
Well, go on then.
Oh, how Kate does love the sound of her voice. I will, Kate. Thank you very
Tony,
much.
you keep shouting that, but
the fact of the matter is that whether in Sweden, I'm not shouting. You've just interrupted again. Maybe you should show some courtesy. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the state of Sweden right now, Sweden is the rape capital of Europe. It's really not making a grand deal of difference, is it? It's an advert. I grew up with them, and as a mum, I had 2 children. Christmas would come around. I did go in the kitchen, I would cook my 2 children, one was a boy, one was a girl, would both have a piece of pastry. Both would make mince pies. Dad would carry the presents down from the attic, because I didn't really want to go up into the attic and pull them down. I do not see how that is a problem. You say it's stereotypical, I say that that's just family life. And I don't see that it's such a big issue. But what people are doing, people like Kate, what people like Kate are doing, I haven't finished yet, Kate, what people like Kate are doing...
I know, and I suspect you never will.
Sexism. This is everything. The only sexism, Kate, is your sexism.
You don't even make sense, Tony. Why don't you make a point and I'll answer it? But right now...
I do make sense.
You know, this is just gibberish, isn't it?
I've just made a point. It's not sexist.
Your point was that in your family there is some division of roles.
Kate, is this not all highly subjective? Like, gender stereotyping can mean something very different to people from different backgrounds and religions. Is this a case of the minority putting their views on the majority?
No, gender stereotyping means the same thing. All it means is that women are pushed into one role and men are pushed in another role. Now, you're quite right that in different cultures, those roles can be quite different. In some cultures, you know, that would mean women really being pushed to stay at home. In other cultures, it would be the stereotype of, for example, women as nurses and men as doctors. There are definitely different sets of stereotypes, but gender stereotyping is simply the act of you know, presenting women as suitable for a certain set of roles and men as suitable for a different set of roles. It seems quite obvious to me that in 2018 the time has come to move beyond that.
Yeah, Tony, there was one high-profile example this year when Clark's marketed a pair of girls' shoes as Dolly Babe and the boys' version as Leader. Can such branding influence the way children view themselves? It's very, very distinct views, wasn't it? The names of those shoes and indeed what kind of future roles they're going to have.
No, I think it's a pair of shoes, and the chances are they'll be worn out on the inside, worn out on the outside. No child will even pay a blind bit of attention to what was written on them. They literally will not take it. My son grew up, he was a typical lad, but he also would get involved with a lot of things that I would do, and he'd come with mum and me and him would do a lot of things. It's down to parents to show children both sets of, you can do anything you want to do. If you want to be a mechanic, be a mechanic. But the fact of the matter is that what you're talking about is that you want to remove gender roles. But unfortunately, what you're saying is people like myself, my role was as a mother, that I shouldn't embrace that role. We shouldn't embrace that in society. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Be a scientist, be a rocket scientist, be whatever you want. An advert is just an advert. It's an advert. It's just an advert. You're making it into something bigger than it needs to be.
Then people wouldn't make adverts, because the point of adverts
to a minority,
is that they sell products
to pander to a minority.
Women are 50% of the population. We're not a minority.
Offending the majority.
We're actually the majority.
That's right.
Women are the majority.
And not all of
We're
them
52%
have your views, Kate. Not all of them have your views.
Kate, I will go back to the point.
She's a little Femifascist.
Yeah, Kate, I will just go back to the point about state involvement. Yeah. Why does it need to be so vehemently police this? Surely the market will take care of itself. It seems to be, is this an encroachment of almost mission creep by the state to have a say in normal people, normal families' lives?
But I don't think this isn't the state coming round to your house and saying, don't you do this job or don't you do this job. This is the state looking at advertising. The state already regulates advertising very, very heavily because it wants to do things like, for example, making sure that it's accurate so that companies can't make claims that aren't true. It can't tell you that, you know, this medicine can cure something it can't cure. The state already regulates advertising to make sure it's not lewd and lascivious, to make sure it's not full of nasty stereotypes about people based on their race. It does all sorts of things already. And there's absolutely no reason
to do with the roles of women in the household?
Why it shouldn't step in and say, let's make sure that our advertising also doesn't promote these outdated gender stereotypes that, you know, it's 2018. They shouldn't be doing it anyway.
OK, Toni, you've got the last 20 seconds.
Great, we can deal with that.
Toni, you've got the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, outdated, Toni, outdated.
Not outdated at all, not outdated. In fact, I think that their traditions are being lost, and they're being lost for a minority because there's pushy little Femifascists like yourself who want to push an ideology
this is just an ad hominem
onto people
attack,
that actually
Toni, and no one is telling you not to wash out.
I'm quite happy. This is my last 20 seconds, but you keep interfering. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and I will when you keep saying obnoxious, misogynist, ad hominem, nasty things.
But that doesn't mean
sure.
Yeah,
I'll interrupt all day. What you're saying is wrong. It's absolute nonsense.
Kate, hold on a second.
2018, the future's here.
I'm a woman and a mother. And you're a disgrace.
Well
to
done.
women.
What do you want, a round of applause?
We have to wrap it up there. We thank you very much for a spirited debate, both of you. We've been speaking to Toni Bugle, founder of Mothers Against Radical Islam and Sharia, and British comedian and political activist Kate Smurthwaithe. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
And that is all our news for now. See you again in half an hour's time. This is RT International.